Hi guys, Guilty Grey here, and welcome to this Raven Gaming review of The Medium. So here it is, The Medium, the first next-gen console exclusive for Microsoft's Xbox Series X. The Medium, if you aren't already aware, is a psychological thriller which takes place over two separate worlds, the world of the living and the world of the spirits, and you play as the titular medium herself, Marianne. The game's story and Marianne's quest start off after a rather bleak prologue, and a phone call that Marianne receives from a mystery man claiming to know all about her and her powers, asking for her help in the mysterious and abandoned Niwa Resort. And so begins 8 hours of psychic sleuthing and spirit world dwelling. The first thing that will strike anyone when they start playing this game is just how beautiful the environments and the scenery is. It's strange when you look at the character models in comparison to this and realise how low the fidelity of them is. This is a next-gen game, and I can tell that all of the next-gen hardware is really being used to push the environments to the best they can possibly be. They are spectacular, and there was times when I found myself in awe of what I was watching around me, especially when we were in the spirit world. That being the case, I was still underwhelmed by how bad the character models were, as well as weird technical glitches on the facial animations of each character. Sometimes they would just glitch out as if they were in the Matrix, and pixels would just disappear off their forehead. Also, I find it very odd to see a game, especially a next-gen game, that has such an issue with texture popping. I know this game processes two worlds at once, and that is a marvel in itself. But seeing as it is only available on the most powerful console available at the moment, I still find texture popping rather strange. Normally technical things like this and graphics themselves aren't usually a big thing for me. But I find it very jarring, the juxtaposition between beautiful environments and background effects and these really janky and obviously polygonal character models. Especially after playing a game like Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, where the character models are so photorealistic that it feels like you're watching real life. Considering that game was released on the last gen, and what they've achieved on that compared to this, just seems rather strange to me. While I have issues with the character models, the environments I can't have any issues with. They're the most gorgeous I've seen in any game in recent history. The world they build, should I say the worlds they build, are both amazingly unique, bleak, creepy, and beautiful all at the same time. The two worlds themselves are of course the Niwa Resort, a Soviet building, monolithic, straight lines and very, very authoritarian looking. And then of course we have the spirit world, a Lovecraftian style horror of hands and corpses, bodies and tentacles. And while we're talking about the two worlds, we have to talk about the most unique part of this game. At certain junctions within the game, a split screen will occur. A line will appear down the middle of the screen, whether it be vertical or horizontal, and on either side of this line you'll have the real world and the spirit world. And the actions you take in one will be reflected in the action of the other. While this is of course unique, is it necessary? I don't believe so. I know that a lot of the reason this game is on the next generation is because it needs to load the two levels at once. But does it need to load those two levels at once? Do those sections of the game make it or break it? Really and truthfully, I could have got by without these. They're not that commonplace, they happen every now and again, and they are later replaced with a mechanic where you can jump between one world and another. And I did find this, and its swift loading between one and the other, way more intriguing, and I think it brought new levels of depth to the puzzle solving. Puzzles in this game, as all of the gameplay in this game, are pretty simplistic at best. It moves forward quite easily, you walk down corridors, you go to places, you find a box that needs power, you jump to the other world, collect energy, power the box up, and then proceed in the real world. This is kind of rinsed and repeated throughout the game, and it doesn't really change that much. The later half of the game does show you some nice ways of using the jumping between worlds mechanic to solve puzzles, but it is only done once and right at the end of the game. I think it would have been better suited for this to be scattered out a bit more throughout the game. as after the third or maybe fourth time I'd completed the task of going down a corridor, finding item A, bringing it back to item B to get result C, I found it a bit boring and repetitive. The game does suffer a little bit from repetition. It's mainly just walking down corridors, solving these rudimentary puzzles, and then moving on to the next stage. The game itself has no combat in any way, shape or form. You have sections of forced stealth where the big bad of this game, who I'll touch on later, does appear, and you have to hide from him in case he catches you. These are slow and rather hard to get by at times. Sometimes you don't really know what you're meant to be doing or even where you're meant to be going. The game just forces you to kind of figure it out, and it is more of a trial and error situation. And this can be quite frustrating, especially when you have to wait for yourself to die and then reload back at the beginning of the checkpoint again. During these stealth sections, all Marianne really has to do is crouch down and walk behind boxes, and occasionally she's given the ability to hold her breath. With regards to the suite of controls this game gives Marianne, there aren't that many. You have Insight, Marianne's psychic eagle vision. You have the ability to do spirit walks, so that when you're in the separated worlds, you can walk further away from your physical body. This does result in degradation over time, and once that degradation ends, I'm not actually sure what happens. I never tested that myself, but I'm assuming you either return to the host or you die. While in the spirit walking form, Marianne does have ways of protecting herself. She has a spirit blast, which is used to power the energy boxes, but can also be used to attack enemies. She also has a spirit shield, which is very handy when these random moths in the spirit world attack you. Other than that, there's not much else she can do. The rest of Marianne's utility is derived from tools that she picks up in the world. Two to be specific. In the physical world, she picks up the bolt cutters, a master key for all of the doors in the hotel which have been chained up. In the spiritual world, she picks up the aforementioned razor blade, a creepy looking knife made mainly of bone, not sure why it's called a razor blade, but there you go. This is used to cut through the sections of the map which are closed off to her by fleshy skin growths. These seem a bit redundant later on in the game and don't seem to have much purpose other than to slow you down when you're walking down a corridor, but they are there and they give you the blade to cut them. While the gameplay didn't enamour me to the medium, the story definitely did. The prologue begins with a massive gut punch of emotion as Marianne deals with the loss of a very close person to her. This then sparks an intriguing mystery down a rabbit hole of spiritual beings and creatures that are just beyond belief and explanation. Marianne herself is well played and well written and a very likeable character, self-deprecating and rather surprisingly blasé about the spirit world and its inhabitants. A nice juxtaposition for us, the player, who obviously is rather freaked out by the things we're seeing. Another highlight too is the small yet robust supporting cast. You have Sadness, this small little spirit girl who guides you through the game at the beginning. She's well played and creepy but lovable. You have the eponymous big bad spirit force that stalks you through the hotel, menacing in its inner monologuing, in its sniggering and laughters. And Troy Baker must be commended for this performance, as it's such a change from his normal performances, but it's so eerie and menacing that it seems to suit him quite well. It shows his range as an actor, and this character is probably one of my favourites in the entire game, even though he is the bad guy. And later on in the game we're introduced to some more characters. Big twists are revealed with these guys, so I won't spoil who they are, but their inclusion is definitely greatly appreciated and very much changed up the game for me and the story itself. A story that is slow to develop originally, but there's enough lore tidbits and information scattered around to keep you intrigued and keep you pushing forward. And when you do push forward, you are rewarded. The mysteries you've been unravelling slowly start to show themselves for what they are, and the story reaches a crescendo which is emotional yet underwhelming at the same time. It reveals big reveals and has big twists, but then ends rather abruptly with no real answers, just more questions. But I'm sure this is not the last we've seen of Marianne. In conclusion, The Medium is a beautiful game with stunning environments and vistas, with an interesting premise but all in all I don't think it really hits the mark. Texture popping is quite rampant in it, and visual glitching is rather immersion breaking with regards to playing a game like this. The puzzles aren't hard enough and the world is a bit too linear. Maybe if the world was a bit more open I could get more out of it and maybe enjoy it more. There's no real replayability in this game. There's no drive for me to go back and achieve anything else. No alternative endings, and no secrets, I don't believe. That being said, if you have Game Pass and the ability, I'd say definitely give this one a try. At least to see how they've worked with these two worlds and just to see the beautiful vistas themselves. Would I pay full price for this? No, probably not. Is it a groundbreaking game that deserves to be the next gen console seller? No, it definitely isn't. I'm sure the next game in the Medium franchise will be an absolute showcase of everything that is possible. But right now, this is a game which theoretically could be on the last gen. There was nothing in this that showed me it was a next gen title through and through. Fun? Definitely. Technically? Beautiful. Necessary? Not entirely. Console seller? Definitely not. Thanks for watching. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of the Medium, whether you agree with us or not. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you've liked what you've seen, please leave a like and subscribe to see more from us here at Raven Gaming UK. Then please head on over to our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Raven Gaming UK and give us a like and a follow and help us grow our community. I've been Guilty Grey and thanks again for watching.